Hi and welcome back. Guess what? It's peach season. One of my favorite times of the year. I have a lot of them, by the way. So, if you notice, we went to a little town called Fredericksburg, Texas. Fredericksburg is a little bitty German town, lots of antique stores. In fact, me and Grandpa Rebel spent our 17th wedding anniversary there and went antiquing. Didn't really find much. We found a table that we could put in a living room, but we were actually looking for a bedroom set, and we actually found a bedroom set local here that was hidden in a barn that we got for a lot cheaper than anything. So we went ahead and bought a box of peaches, if you didn't notice. And we are going to go ahead and make spiced peaches. Now, peach is my favorite fruit. Can't eat much anymore. But I remember as a child, my mother would make peach and apricot nectar. Now, apricots are even better than peaches, in my opinion. But down here, you don't get many apricots. I tried growing a tree, but it didn't make it. So, my mom would make apricot nectar, peach nectar, and I think I was 4 or 5 years old. Whenever this happened, I would sneak into the pantry and grab myself a jar and sneak off and drink it. I think she caught on because eventually there was no more, and I was very, very sad. I knew back then you think you're getting away with things. You're not getting away with things. She knew. As an adult, I know she knew. But at 3 years old, 4 years old, you think you're doing, getting away with something. Fun tip, you're not getting away from something. So, let's go ahead and process these peaches. We're going to go ahead and make some peach jam, spiced peach jam, spiced slices in a light syrup. Excuse me, they're falling apart. And some ice cream topping that Grandpa Rebel wants. So we'll go ahead and work on that. Let's go ahead and get started and start peeling these peaches. Okay, so what you want to do is that you want to go ahead and get your water nice and hot, so we can go ahead and we're going to dump these peaches into this water about 20-30 seconds, and then and then put in a cold water bath, like with ice, and it will actually help with the peeling of the peaches. Okay, and after you do this, you want to go ahead and slice these. Now these are freestone peaches, which means that they can come off of the stone, the seed in the middle, with ease. And then you want to go ahead and put these in a bowl. You can save the skins to make peach jam, because all you have to do is boil the skins, make a tea out of it, or juice, and then add pectin and sugar. I'm not going to do that with this one because we're going to make the jam, the spiced jam. You're going to see some bad spots. It's okay. Go ahead and cut those out. Okay, now what you want to do is you want to put these in jars. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and make a simple syrup for this. Well, I'm going to make a light syrup, and we're going to add spices to it. Simple syrup is a 1-to-1 ratio of water and sugar. We're going to do a 2-to-1 ratio of 2 cups of water to 1 cup of sugar. Okay, now that we have all of these jarred up, okay, I have a little bit of extra here. I'm going to make these sugar free and show you how to do that because I want some. These are going to family. These are mine. Okay, so 2 cups per 1 cup of sugar. Use a dry cup, even if you have to bring it down. So that's a 1/4 cup. Okay, you're going to let this come up to not a rolling boil, but just starting to boil. And while it's heating up, you're going to add your spices. Okay, for this, we're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon each of cinnamon, ground cinnamon, allspice, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground cloves. And that's it for the simple syrup, or the light syrup. And once this comes up to a boil, you're going to put it in with the peaches. Oh, one thing I did forget. Okay. In order to bring the acidity up in your jars, to where you can actually put these away properly and make them shelf stable. You want citric acid. Okay, for this you're going to do 1/8 of a teaspoon. And that is enough to make it shelf stable. Okay, now for the 2 that I'm keeping, I'm going to add some water, some of my stevia, and a pinch of those same spices. I already put cloves in here. I'm going to put cinnamon and allspice in here as well. And then we're going to go ahead and water bath this with a little bit of, you know, the citric acid. Alright, now that we have everything jarred, we do still have a little bit of the syrup left over. You can actually jar that if you want and save it for later projects. But for pints, we're going to water bath these. And again, 15 minutes for pints, 25 minutes for quarts. Oh, I need to redo these. I forgot about these lids. These lids are crap. See how that one is nice and good? Those are buckled. I forgot I had a bad batch of lids. So I'll go ahead and get those done. And use the good lids for these after they cool down. Okay, now that we have those canned, let's go ahead and make some jelly. Now this recipe is actually adds alcohol to it. You're going to want to cook the alcohol out of the jelly first before you can it, unless you like a little bit of buzz. So what I have in here is, what I did is I took the peaches, skinned them, and then put them all in a blender and made puree. And that's what we're going to make the jelly out of. So we have 6 cups of peach puree. We're going to go ahead and warm that up. Add a little bit of citric acid to this to be able to preserve the color. We got our sugar, our pectin. We're going to use both of these. A little bit of ground cinnamon and brandy. Now, since this is going to be a low sugar jelly, we're going to add 2 cups of sugar. We're going to let this dissolve. Then we're going to go ahead and add 1 cup of brandy. Okay, in addition to that, we are going to add 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Just enough to give it a little bit of spice. If the cinnamon doesn't integrate well, okay, what you want to go ahead and do is get out a whisk. And make sure everything integrates well. Now you're going to keep the whisk out because you're going to need to use that for the pectin. Okay. After everything is dissolved, you want to add the pectin. You kind of still want to keep this cool. The alcohol will actually come out and whenever we start to boil this. Whenever it's in the gel section, you'll see that. Add both. And you want to make sure that this is very well integrated before it starts coming up to a boil. Now, with most gels, or with most jelly, you add the sugar last. I find that it really doesn't matter. Typically, the instructions will say add the sugar last. This is to ensure that everything comes up to a boil. Well, sugar has a higher boiling temperature than the fruit or whatever else that you're going to be gelling up. Okay, so it's actually beneficial if you add the sugar before, because you have to bring this up to a boil in order for the pectin to activate. Well, if the temperature of whatever you're making is a higher temperature, because you added the sugar, and it'll gel better. Okay, so now that's all integrated. We are waiting for it to boil. Okay. Now that we are starting to come up to a boil, you want to kind of keep an eye on it and keep constantly stirring until it comes to a full rolling boil, and you want to boil it for about a minute. You notice that it's gotten thick, which is good. And at this point, you want to kind of taste test it. You're still going to taste the brandy, but the brandy is a subtle flavor in this. Okay, if you want more brandy flavor, go ahead and add 2 cups. Or if you want other spices in here, cinnamon for me is fine. You can add, cloves, aniseed, any other spices that you wish. Even pumpkin spice would work with this. See how it's starting to come up to a nice full roll boil? And you want to boil that for about a minute. Stirring constantly. And you want to make sure that whenever you're stirring it, bubbles still form. There we go. And that's what you want to see. And after 1 minute, you want to turn it off, but keep stirring because it's still bubbling. You don't want it to bubble over until the bubbles come down. Then after this, it will be ready to jar. And you want to water bath this. In jelly jars or water bath for 15 minutes. Okay, so here's a little tip. If you don't have a canner, you know, the big, huge buckets that you see me canning in for a water bath, okay, you can use a regular pot. Okay, just make sure that the pot is big enough to where you can have 1 to 2 inches. If not, if you don't have anything like that, don't fret. You can still do what's called steam canning. That means that you're basically steaming with water the lids and the jars to be able to seal properly. Now that's going to take a little bit longer. Okay, for this you want to steam can for 40 minutes, only because of the fact that the lids are not getting boiling hot, and you want to go ahead and make sure that, you know, that the seals get nice and gooey so it can seal properly. Okay, you want your pot, put your rag underneath there so the jars don't hit the bottom. Okay, and we're gonna put these in. And we're going to add as much water as we can. Until, without the water actually boiling over. You want to go ahead and put a lid on that. You want to bring it up to a full boil and then turn the heat down to where it's very rarely boiling. Okay, because you don't want this to spill over and get everywhere. So that's the reason, and that is also the reason why we're doing 40 minutes instead of the 15, because the water is not up to the top. Really? Here we have 8 very hot jars. What you want to do is that you want to cover them up, kind of put them to bed, and let these cool down on their own underneath this. This will ensure a seal that it actually seals properly. Okay, so now that we have the jelly done, we're going to go ahead and do some peach syrup. Now, it's been a few days since I've done the jelly, and since then I've got a few mods for my my camera. I got a front-facing camera, so if you see me looking up a little bit, I'm actually looking at me. So that's where my now front-facing display is, because before this I didn't know how good my shots were until I started editing them. This also has a new microphone on it, so I may it may be better. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so for syrup, we're going to go ahead and make some for like ice cream, pancakes, chaffles, whatever you want to use the peach ice cream for. It is going to have a little bit of cinnamon in it because Grandpa wants cinnamon, but he wants something to put over vanilla ice cream, so whenever he wants something fruity, he'll be able to, you know, have some peaches. So what I have here, okay, is, let me go ahead and bring this down. What I have here is 6 cups of the peach puree. Add a little bit of citric acid to keep the color. And the ratio that you want for this is 1:1. So 6 cups of peach to 6 cups of sugar. Now, it may seem that it is a lot of sugar, but just to let you know, you're going to be using like a tablespoon of this at a time, and this is going to last at least a year in our house. Now, one thing that I've noticed is on like the recipes from Reddit and things, they have it going up to a boil. Now, you're supposed to bring this up to a boil. What they don't tell you is that you're supposed to bring this up to a softball stage. Get yourself one of these. This is a candy thermometer. Okay. The the softball stage on a candy thermometer is up to 240 degrees Fahrenheit. I do believe softball for Celsius is 112, 113, something like that, or one, in between. Okay, and that's at least according to this thermometer. So whenever you bring it up to a boil, you want to start measuring. Once it hits the softball stage, you want to take it off of the heat and then let it cool. And then I'll show you how to test it to being an actual syrup. Okay, we're at 200 now. Got 20 more degrees to go. And you want to stir this. And if you notice, it's starting to thicken up a little bit. You do want to go ahead and stay here and watch this, because you don't want this to boil over. Oh boy. This is what happens whenever you go grab your coffee. It wasn't even up to temperature yet. I've got a little bit of a mess to clean up. All right, let's try this again. Almost there. Another thing that you can do to test this out, put a little bit in a bowl, put this in the freezer for about 5-10 minutes. And then you can go ahead and check the thickness. Okay, so as soon as as this is cooled down, go ahead and test the thickness of the syrup. Peachy. There you go. Nice and thick. Okay, now as soon as it comes up to temperature, you're going to remove it from the heat. I've already turned this off. And you're going to go ahead and let this cool down. If you're going to can this, okay, you want to water bath this for about 15 minutes in jelly jars. If you want to do it in pints, do it for 25. No more than 25 though. I would not do the store this in quarts. And that's how you have a family of 20. But this will, you can put this on, like I said, you can put this on ice cream, you can put this on pancakes. And this nice cinnamon flavor will give you the sensation of actually eating a cinnamon roll. Now I went ahead and made some a keto cinnamon cake, and I'll show you what this looks like. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and steam can these. We're going to leave these in for a little bit longer. Like I said, steam canning is a little bit different, so you want to leave this in for 30 minutes because the jelly has a higher density in it, so you want that as an extra 10 minutes. Since this is syrup, you want to go ahead and steam bath this for 30. Okay, so here's everything. We have our sliced peaches. We have our peach brandy jelly right here, and these just came out, which is our peach syrup. Let's go ahead and slice up this cinnamon cake. And I'll show you the syrup. Okay. Try to be fancy here. Not a professional. I think that's how they do it. I'll get corrected. Trust me. And that's all I have for peaches, at least this time. Now I'm going to go ahead and eat some cake. And we will see you next time.